Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is one that is often misunderstood: stress and pressure. As a society in general, we've become more aware of the importance of good mental health and the impact that it can have on our daily function. We now understand that one can have all the career success and money in the world, yet still live a very difficult life because of mental health issues and not recognizing the impact that they have. There are more people educating others on mental health than a few years ago, and more people are open to learning and receiving mental health treatment. This is a very good thing, and I'm all for it. But I've noticed that while people teach and inform others about stress and pressure, it's often in a very negative way. And society now seems to frame stress and pressure as these villains, something to get rid of, something that is robbing you of joy and peace. But the truth is, they are not inherently bad. It's more about how they're experienced and managed. And nothing is actually inherently bad. It depends on the context, the frequency, and how one views it. I know that there's a good chance that you have been educated a lot on the negative side of stress and pressure and the terrible consequences that can take place if you experience too much stress and pressure. But allow me to introduce you to both sides of stress and pressure, good and bad. First of all, there are many ways to define stress and pressure. Looking at the definition of stress from a biological perspective, stress is a completely natural response your body produces when you perceive a threat or challenge that you need to survive. It's commonly known as the fight or flight or fight, flight or freeze response, and it's controlled by the autonomic nervous system and is the reason we've been able to survive and not go extinct. There are also some hormones that come into play when stress is present, such as cortisol and adrenaline. They have physical effects on the body, such as increased heart rate or depth or rate of breathing, and increased focus and concentration, and it slows down the digestive system. All this is so that you're able to survive this short-term threat or challenge. Looking at stress from a psychological viewpoint, stress is actually not the situation you are in, it is how you interpret it. Psychologists would describe stress as the imbalance between the perceived challenge or threat and your ability to handle it. So your confidence and self-efficacy has a big influence on the amount of stress or the intensity of the stress you experience. For example, if two people are facing a tight deadline, the person with more confidence and more belief that they will finish in time are more likely to experience less stress or less intense stress than the other person. On the other hand, pressure is something that is external. It can be real or imagined. It is the demands that an individual feels they must meet in a certain situation to meet certain expectations or to get a certain reward or to avoid adverse consequences. Although pressure is mostly external, it can be internal as well. It is mostly from things like deadlines or societal norms or institutes' rules, but it can also be something such as your expectations of your behavior and your personal goals. Pressure and stress really go hand in hand because stress is your response to trying to meet those demands or expectations. And usually where there is pressure, there is stress. The thing is, many people view pressure as something that is evil and it's going to cause you stress. And they think that the only kind of stress that pressure can cause in you is the negative type of stress, when actually there are two types of stress. Most people are just unaware of the more positive type of stress. So stress can be divided into a positive stress, which is also called eustress. It is the type of stress that motivates you to take action, solve problems, and achieve goals. A great example of eustress is what some experience when they watch a show, such as a movie or a Netflix series, and they actively engage with the story and the characters. So they try to predict what will happen next, and then it doesn't happen the way they thought they would, then they actually experience stress. Or when one of their favorite characters' lives are in danger, then they experience stress. Even just if you get very emotionally invested in the story, watching the characters display difficult emotions because they are in a difficult situation can evoke stress in you. But it is eustress. It's not the negative kind of stress, because you still enjoyed watching that show, and mostly because it's just a show and it's not real, but you still do experience stress because you can get quite invested in the story if it's a good one. So that, I think, is a good example of a positive kind of stress that many people experience while watching a show, and they might not even notice it. And then there is the negative stress, which is called distress, and it is stress that overwhelms your ability to cope, think clearly, and it leads to anxiety or even depression, and just is maladaptive in general. So the problem with the negative view of pressure and the consequential stress is that now it is automatically de-stress. The stress activated by pressure is automatically identified as, oh, it has to be de-stress. And many people don't realize that actually pressure are not evil. That deadline is not there just to have a negative impact on your mental health and rob you of all the joy and fun you deserve. No, it is actually there to, yes, activate stress in you so you can get to writing that essay or completing that assignment or submitting that proposal. It is actually meant to activate eustress in you, the positive kind of stress, the stress that will make you jump into action and complete the challenge. That kind of stress is not evil. It is what will help you get it done. Eustress leads to growth, motivation, achievement. Yes, when you meet that deadline or whatever the pressure was resulting from, you experience a sense of achievement and joy after completing that challenge, even though you were in a stress state. It just wasn't the negative kind of stress. It was eustress, which really can lead to feelings of reward once you have completed it. Mostly thanks to the hormone dopamine, which gets released after you've completed a challenging task. It seems to me that as the general public learns more and more about the consequences of too much stress and too much pressure, which is pretty bad, I admit, it seems that now society idolizes a life that is mostly stress free and just happy all the time, when actually that sounds, first of all, impossible, but also pretty dangerous. There is a lot that can be missed when you live a life where you focus on avoiding stress at all costs because you view it as being inherently bad. You miss opportunities for growth, which is so important to achieve your goals and experience the satisfaction that comes when you overcome something challenging. You also miss out on the opportunity to gain confidence when you make it through a stressful situation and you meet the deadline or you give that public speech, which is deeply internally rewarding. A completely stress-free life sounds to me like one that lacks purpose and engagement. It sounds one that is actually very dangerous because stress is a normal part of our biology, and if you live a life that is stress-free, eventually you will intentionally or unintentionally create stress. Like you will create conflict between you and your loved ones. So there's just some drama. So you can experience something. You could just feel stress, because without feeling the stress, are we even really alive? Stress really is something that is just part of who we are as humans and part of our daily lives. Even if you are aware that there is a positive kind of stress and a negative kind of stress, and you know how to manage stress and you have all the mental health knowledge, it's still impossible to avoid the negative kind of stress. There things happen and you will experience the negative kind of stress, but I hope that you eventually recover from it. But I just hope to make you more aware that there is two sides to stress and that it is not inherently evil or bad for you. I hope that you would become more aware of the different type of stress you experience throughout the day. And when you experience the negative type of stress, and when do you experience the positive kind of stress that you have always just labeled as the negative kind of stress. And I believe that we have such power with our thoughts. So if you truly believe that you are experiencing the negative kind of stress, then even if it was supposed to be the positive kind of stress, it will then change into the negative kind of stress. So if you view pressure, such as people's expectations or certain requirements or a deadline, as being evil, and it is just meant to evoke negative stress in you, then it will do that every time. But when you realize that that pressure is there to help you achieve what you should, to stop procrastinating and actually get to doing what must be done, so later on you can reap the rewards, you will realize that it is meant to evoke the positive kind of stress, the one that puts you to action and motivates you, the one that will eventually result in the sense of achievement and joy you will feel once you meet that deadline or achieve the goal or give the public speech. Speaking of public speaking, I once watched a video where a public speaker explained that before she goes on stage, she obviously gets nervous, as one does right before a public speech. The few minutes right before you go onto the stage is the scariest few minutes, because that's when all your feelings flood you at once. But she says that instead of labeling what she's feeling as stress or nerves, she rather says that, oh no, she's just excited. She's just excited to go on stage and to deliver the speech well and to tell people what she wants to tell them. And that works because what she actually is feeling is the positive kind of stress, because her body is preparing her to deliver this speech well, and it is something that she wants to do. She wants to deliver this speech well. And the physical responses of excitement and stress is not that different. So it's very easy actually to tell yourself that you are not stressed, you're actually excited. And then it's very easy for your body to believe it. And it can even help you gain more control and then deliver that speech well. This is why before an exam, I always say that, no, I'm not nervous, I am excited. Because I want to write this exam. This is why I showed up. And this is why I took the course. I want to eventually be tested on my knowledge. It seems that most students have quite a negative view on exams. They see it as something that is just there to cause stress, and it is just the worst. When actually it's a wonderful opportunity to test how well do you know this new knowledge that you have been taught the past few days or weeks. And I see a lot of students so stressed out before their exams, talking to their friends about how they think they're not going to make it, or how scary they think this exam is. But I actually go around telling people, no, I'm excited. And some of them are always like, yo, how can that be? How can one be excited for an exam? I think that one can be. And maybe I am just fooling myself and I'm actually am stressed, but saying that I am excited rather than stressed helps calm me down so I can focus more throughout the exam. And actually, ever since I started saying that I'm excited for exams and I enjoy exams, I've actually genuinely started believing it and I've started experiencing it. I genuinely don't dislike exams as much as I used to. And I've also seen an increase in my academic performance. So I do wonder if it could be because of this mind shift. The way I view exams is now much more positive, and therefore I might experience much more positive stress throughout the exam, which is why I now have better academic performance. That's the theory, at least. My point is that even though you can't control external pressure which results in stress, you can control the way you interpret your stress and the way you will respond to the pressure. You can let stress be something that empowers you to do your absolute best. It doesn't have to overwhelm you. It's not something that is evil. Stress in certain situations really can be something that you can control. It is not because of the pressure or the situation you're in. It is your internal response to some challenge or threat or strain. It is not something that is external and out of your control, something that is bad and to be avoided. It is a sign that you care about what you're doing or what you're about to do. It is something important to you, or it is challenging, which means it will probably result in growth and improvement and feelings of achievement afterward. Sure, pressure isn't really something that you can control. Most of the time, you can't control external pressures such as deadlines, but you can still shift the way you think about it. You can realize that pressures are drivers and they are not just there to cause you to experience a negative kind of stress. You can let pressure, rather than overwhelm you, you can let it empower you. Let it serve its original purpose. Really, do not hate you, and that's why they set these deadlines, so you can be unhappy and be stressed all the time. No, they set those deadlines so you can sit down and do the work that must be done, so later on you will be grateful. Yes, pressure and stress as well is something to actually be grateful for. But of course, there is still a dark side to stress and pressure, especially when there is too much stress or too much pressure on an individual. It can lead to burnout, mental health issues, and it can also lead to physical health issues. Chronic stress can lead to high blood pressure, headaches, weakened immune system, and so on and on. So yes, it is important to know that there is still a dark side, and you must be aware of when it is too much, when it is really affecting your daily functioning, and you are seeing all the symptoms of chronic stress, the physical or the psychological symptoms. When that happens, it's important to reach out for help and not just ignore it or blame yourself for it. So yes, there still is that side to stress, but I do hope that today's video introduced you to a other side of stress and pressure, one that I feel is not talked about often enough. And I hope that it made you realize that stress and pressure are not inherently evil. They are not your enemies. They can actually help you if you manage them well and reframe them as opportunities rather than threats. When you become more aware of them and that you are in control, you will realize they are tools for growth, achievement, and fulfillment. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, take care of yourself and keep striving to be the best version of you.